Ugh, can we let the American dream die yet? Many of us are so stuck with hitting these mile markers that we've weaved our sense of self-worth within it. But really, we're setting ourselves up to live a really inauthentic life based on somebody else's dream. Get equipped for everything you need in regards to personal development and career success by subscribing to my channel. Make sure you hit that bell to be notified every time I post a new video. Expecting your life to be linear is a whole lie. Just ask any of the most successful people that you can identify right now. They'll tell you that there is a process of twists and turns and natural occurrences that are part of the process. But the idea of the American dream makes us drastically and harshly judge these missteps as if we've done something really, really wrong. So stay tuned to this video where we will unpack this mindset, take it out of the clouds, and learn to appreciate your reality right now. So why do we need to break down this mindset? Well, the main reason is this idea that we hit one rung and the next one and the next one, and it's this very linear equation. It comes from school, right? And how we naturally matriculated through the education system. So we went from kindergarten, first grade, etc., through high school. It's very 1, 2, 3, 4, and even college. But we shouldn't be applying this to the rest of our lives. And we subconsciously have this expectation that after we pass this thing, we get certain grades that we're going to be rewarded at some point, because that's how school operates. After kindergarten, there's a graduation. After 8th grade, it's a graduation. Like there's this whole ceremony that's supposed to happen. And I think we set ourselves up for failure by expecting, okay, by 25, this is supposed to happen. Yay, everybody's gonna come and celebrate. By 30, this, by that. But who says, and what handbook does it say that your life is over or that something is horribly wrong if you don't accomplish X, Y, and Z by the time you're 30? I know a lot of people who may have accomplished and have great accolades and rewards by the time they're 30 in one area, but they're hollow and terrible people in other areas. So something to think about. We can't and shouldn't be expecting, or just watch yourself. If you find yourself beating you up, right, about not reaching certain milestones by certain ages. There was no book when you were birthed that said that if you don't achieve X by this age, that you're gonna stay in this grade until you pass this thing or meet this thing. That's not how that goes. So be mindful of that. Also, that doesn't leave regular life experience in the equation at all. So the pandemic, for example, I'm quite sure that you didn't plan for that when you had these awesome plans for your lives. Nobody did. No company, all of us were not prepared for this. So you should be looking at your life the same way. Experiences will happen, like I said earlier, but they carve out your greatness. If you're just checking off boxes, what development is there in you as a person? Also, we make mistakes, right? I think some of us become perfectionists also as a result of how our minds have been trained and matriculating through an education system. But the mistakes expand your mind. You know what not to do. Mistakes give you so much knowledge. They give you so many opportunities, more than you can even count or imagine. Think about inventions like aspirin and stuff like that that came after making a mistake, or after, I'm not going to say the word failing, but after not meeting your expectations so many times. Wonderful things were birthed out of that. So if you make a mistake, it's okay. Again, we don't have to align with what's on this imaginary paper that people said we should be following. But let it expand your mind, let it mature you. And if you've made a mistake with some less than pleasant outcomes, I can relate to that, repent, give it to God, and keep going. Another thing that the American dream, or also what I call the linear lie, puts us in the mindset is our education, our job title. It defines us. But let me tell you, if that's the case, I worry for you. That's a dangerous place to be at, when how many degrees you have, or the type of degrees you have, and then what level of achievement you've reached in the career ladder defines you, right? You were a whole person before you ever took a job or before you ever earned a degree. So remember that when that stuff is stripped off of you, or you're not working in that capacity, you are still you. You still have contributions to make to the world. You still have people that love you. You still have something to give outside of that. So for those of you who maybe don't feel as accomplished because you don't have your master's degree yet, or because you're not a CMO or a CXO or a somebody O in the C-suite, it should not define you. All it is supplemental information and supplemental additions so that you can do you better. But you is the common denominator. It shouldn't be these other things that you're hanging on to be somebody. That's a lie within itself. Also, think about the fact that, let's say you are a president or vice president, or in a very high-ranking, respectable position in your career. You will not hold that position forever. At some point, you're going to transition out of it, whether you retire, whether you move on to something else, pass away, get fired, but you will not take this position with you. It's an opportunity for you to steward that position, to be the best in providing your insight to that position to serve other people. But it's not you as a person. And ultimately, think about, who are you by yourself, without all of the accolades, without all of these robes and drapes and sashes. Who are you? Get to know and love that person. Then you can map out a life that's conducive to that, not to these rungs or things that you're trying to achieve. I see it like somebody going rock climbing. Or I remember back in the day, there was a show on Nickelodeon called Guts, which was super cool. But people would compete and stuff. There would be all these obstacles and things that these kids would compete for to get a flag. And so that's what happens when we make our identity and our self-worth our title and our degree. Like, oh, we're trying to achieve it. So you've achieved that flag, but how you feel about yourself is still the same. Your self-worth did not move as a result of that. So just think about that. Any of you come to this conclusion already? Share with me in the comments when you realized that the American dream was really your nightmare. And then lastly, when you align your life with these very generic, or like I said, inauthentic milestones, this can make you a bit rigid and judgmental. When we strive for the American dream, it doesn't give any room for life circumstances, like I mentioned before. There are things out of your control, no matter what you achieve. There will be things that will happen that you can do absolutely nothing about. And what happens is, when we align our life so specifically and intently with these, I go to college, I get married, I do this, by this age, I got to make this amount of money, whatever that is for you, you kind of set yourself up for failure for not reaching these things. And then that causes, disappointment, self-worth issues, but it also makes you judgmental. It makes you judgmental to look down on other people. And I know people like this. I have acquaintances, people that I've known and loved, who are like, oh, you've only achieved this. You should have gotten here, there, everywhere by that time. if you don't reach whatever goal by what age, if you're that person that maybe you have, and that's wonderful, it makes you a jerk, just to be honest, to other people. But sadly, and what's most important is that we judge ourselves that harshly, to the point where you can develop bad thought patterns and bad habits and a really poor self-esteem by trying to compare yourself to this dream, the American dream. But which American? Exactly my point. So just remember that you achieving something should be for you to celebrate, to be excited about, to feel a sense of pride, but also to give back for, and not to judge people for you to bump yourself up higher and push them down a little bit lower, so that we can have this widened disparity gap, so you can have this inflated sense of self and ego. But it's also not meant for you to look to the right or to the left to see what you should be doing or where you should be at based on what somebody else is doing. Stay in your own lane, run your own race, because then you'll never fail. You'll never be behind. Ultimately, you need to get with God on what your life is supposed to look like. This is the only way to ensure peace in times of transition and change, and victory for the challenges that you absolutely will face in this fallen world. It's non-negotiable. It's gonna happen. You can't read your way out of it, degree your way out of it, pay your way out of it. You just gotta go through it and go through those challenges to get to the victory on the other side. I have seen people do some strange things in order to achieve this fallacy of an American dream, as if it was a guaranteed path to happiness. But ultimately, it's not. God holds the vision, and you hold the key to the masterpiece that is your life. But if you're serious on another note about finding your career on purpose, make sure you check out my video of what does God have to do with your career? And also, while we're in this discussion, check out my video of how to define success for yourself, as that's key for you to get out of this mindset and to make some real headway in what you want to see in your life. Also, continue the conversation by joining my Facebook group, From Stagnant Job to Ideal Career. I love to hear from you and talk more about how we can, in general, become better people. So, did you like this video? If so, you already know, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and share it with someone else who you know is being bogged down by the pressures of trying to achieve this American dream. I will see you in the next video.